Hola. Welcome to episode 71 of Word to Your Mama. Word to Your Mama is a podcast about the life of a Latinx mama and the lives of her amazing multicultural tribe, a celebration of shared experiences navigating this dynamic world. There will be special guests, mad laughs, and absolutely no BS. Nah B is our motto. Hosted by me, Ritz P. Segment by the supernatural bear who's 9 going on 49. But other than that, this podcast will be explicit. Please believe it. Today's special guest is Hana Kim. And I want to preface this by saying we've known each other since 2009 or something like that, but you have to know the context of which we met, which we discussed in this episode. It was a time of monikers. Twitter just, we were just heavily starting into Twitter, and we kind of just knew each other by our handles, whether it's our moniker for what we were exhibiting under or what we did. So the reason why you'll hear that she's told me multiple times on how to pronounce her name correctly, and I am an asshole and kept forgetting, is because I don't think of her like that. I think of her as what she does, like super cute. That was her thing, her company, her blog, her what she curated under the shows, the booth. So it was like super cute. So I was not like I was saying, Hana all the time and stuff like that. So let me just preface with that. Also, the movie that I mentioned was not the movie with J-Lo. It's the movie with Julia Roberts, Sleeping with the Enemy. Let me get that correct. If you haven't seen it, yes, that is the level of which I am dealing with, at home. And then Hana, I explained during the episode why I want to have her on. I just want to reiterate that she is a woman of color. She's Korean. She's opened a lot of doors for people, including myself, in a space that was male dominated at the time, and especially if there were any women, there weren't that many women of color. So that's why it was really important. I knew that we had her on the Nerd Out way back in the days. I definitely wanted to have her on Word to Your Mama. I know Colony because of her. You know what I'm saying? I know Vanessa because of her. And just because someone goes out of an industry doesn't mean it doesn't diminish the impact that they had when they were in there. So I want to always remember everyone that has impacted my life especially in positive ways. So that's why we got Hana Kim. So let's get into it. Oh, and don't forget, after Hana's section, we'll go to the Supernatural Bear corner, and he has a little ditty. That I had no idea he was preparing, and he put it together, and it's amazing. Little engineer. Okay. Like next week, I'll do the green so they can see that I'm not bald, and then I actually have some hair.
That's right.
So, okay, let me start it off by
Sure.
when I had Vanessa on here, right? She was on episode 51, Vanessa Ramirez, Mexican Monster Maker. I realized we've known each other for a long time, and I've been pronouncing your name incorrectly this entire time. I've been saying Hana. Sorry, I just want to apologize face to face and
no
say
worries.
that it's Hana, correct?
Yes.
Hana. Yes. So I will not make that mistake ever again. And I just wanted to really just, see you and apologize. Because I remember during that episode, she kept saying like Hana. I was like, oh, I was like, damn it. I hate that. I hate that I've been mispronouncing your name.
You know what? It's funny because we had this conversation way back when I was your podcast guest with Lisa B. And
the Nerd Out way back then.
Yes. Because you guys heard me when I logged on, and you were like, "Wait a minute, have you not told me that I've been saying your name wrong this whole time?"
And forgot again. That's how terrible I am.
That's funny because when with people, with generally people, when I missed a window of correction, which sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. When I miss that window, it's like to hell with it.
Like, fuck it. Okay,
Yeah,
fine. Hannah it is. Well, I
I've been Hannah
apologize.
for a long time though, because that's like just growing up. I think people associate like Hana was different.
Mm-hmm.
But they knew Hannah and her sisters, Hannah Barbera,
Hannah
and
Barbera.
later on Hannah Montana.
Yeah.
So like even if I corrected people, it didn't stick sometimes.
Yeah.
And
As
so it was like,
Exhibit
that's all
A.
right.
Exhibit A. And, so I just wanted to start it off that way. Hannah, thank you so much for being on. Like you mentioned, you were on the Nerd Out
Yes,
many moons ago.
it's been a
And
while.
and now you're on Word to Your Mama, and I appreciate it. And I wanted to start off, um, tell the folks a little bit how we met. I don't remember. It's been so long now. I have no idea. I know it's through the scene of the art
Right.
designer of vinyls toy scene, but I couldn't place it.
It's been a really long time. It may have been before I had the blog Super Cute. I think it was before then. Because I was toy blogging for this now defunct toy blog that I forgot about. And I don't recall if you reached out to me or vice versa. I remember seeing your art and thinking like, oh, wait a minute, a Latina in the scene. This is different. And so, I checked out your art. I was like, oh, this is cool. And that's how we got to know each other via just online. And then I probably met you at Decon, maybe it was Vinyl Toy Network, whatever it was called back then.
Yeah.
And it's been a while. It's been a really long time, actually. I don't know. I don't know. I may have. I might know you maybe as long as I've known Vanessa, and that's been a while too.
Yeah, a long time, right? So I'm thinking because I entered the scene, I think it was like 2009.
I think I knew you right when you did because you
Yeah.
did that big custom.
Yes. Yes.
And if that was one of the first things you did, then yeah, for sure I knew you from then.
Yeah, so that's been a long time. We've known each other a long time, and I wanted to get into the nitty-gritty of where you grew up and how did you venture into the world of curating, because I think I know you don't do that now, so that's interesting,
Sure.
that the evolution of where we're all at now. So I just want to see, like, where did you grow up and how did that what was the seed, what was the inception, what was your root?
Sure. I grew up in LA. I was born in Korea, but I grew up in pretty much LA. I'm one of the few maybe natives, even though I wasn't born there. So my parents moved to the US when I was like 10 months old.
Mm,
And so, we've always lived in Southern California and I grew up in LA. And in terms of getting involved in the toy scene, I remember when it was like a scene. I
yeah.
remember when it was kind of up and coming. People were starting to collect and take it a little bit seriously. And it may have been even before there were a lot of vinyl toys, Hit Kid Robot, or around that same time. And so I started to freelance a couple places trying to, get involved. And I wrote a couple of blog posts to cover the scene, but I was really interested in artists who were, women of color. Didn't really see that too much out there. So I think when I started to go to events like Vinyl, it used to be called Vinyl Toy Network. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
And then later Decon, even San Diego Comic Con, it kind of opened up my eyes to like, oh, okay, so there's others in the scene who, I'm interested in their voices and what they're doing. And, so I started my blog, Super Cute, and it just started as a blog, didn't really have a plan for it. Started to cover a lot of artists. And then I got the opportunity to curate an art show at, not local to me, but close enough, at a little gallery called Leanna Lynn's Wonderland. Um, So, kind of got my feet wet with that and started to curate shows pretty regularly for a couple of years. Got to know a lot more people within the local art community. And it was really fun for a really long time. And I really enjoyed myself.
And so when you started back then, when we first met, what were you doing professionally?
Oh gosh, I was probably just getting started within the corporate world. So I don't know if I've ever mentioned this to you. So I actually started my career as a lawyer.
No.
Oh, so actually, I did go to law school. Got my
Oh,
got my degree. Passed the bar, and
excuse.
and actually, right when I got my bar results, my mom had a seizure, and we found out that she had a brain tumor.
Mm.
And during there was a lot of care involved, surgery, recovery. So about a year later, I was ready to hit the job market, but I had this really long gap and a lot of attorneys in the field. And
Mm.
I just couldn't get my foot in the door because, when you're in law school, they tell you, oh, with the law degree, you can do anything. Like you can
Mhm.
do anything with, as soon as you leave. And what you don't learn until your first year is like, oh, wait a minute, you turn around and a lot of your peers have family who are attorneys. They have
Mm.
family who are in government. They have a step into that world.
Yeah.
And then you realize you really have to be the top of your class to really get a good summer job. And, if you don't get your first good summer job after the first year, it gets harder and harder.
Mm.
And so I didn't realize that reality until my second year. And by then I was thinking like, I don't think I really fit this lifestyle.
Mm.
But I was already 2 years in. And I was like, oh shit, I got one more year to go. Do I bail now or just get it done? So I opted to move forward. So anyway, I kind of did temp jobs for a little bit. Wasn't really sustainable because I was still taking care of my mom. And I decided like I went to college, and I got my English lit degree, and I always wanted to be a writer. So started freelance writing, freelance editing. Still wasn't sustainable. And then my boyfriend, now husband, he said his sister worked at this company and she was looking for like a writer. Oh, there's some kind of writer job there. And I was like, well, what does she do? And he was like, I don't know. And I was like, well, what does the company do? And he said, no, I don't know. She's just been there forever. So if she's been there forever, it must be good, right? I was like, okay. So anyway, that was my first venture into the corporate world because I was career switching. I like entered like at like an assistant level. So I was a communications assistant,
Oh.
and that's how I got into the insurance industry. No one gets into insurance thinking they're going to stay a while. you know,
Yeah.
all my peers were like, oh yeah, they were doing other stuff and they kind of fell into it. So every time I got ready to leave for something else, like a promotion would come up, or they would change my job role and give me more money. So I ended up staying for like 12 years.
Wow. That's crazy because that's what we talk about every time on here, the nonlinear career path. And I think
Hmm.
that is something that we don't talk about often. Being a child of immigrants,
Yeah.
kind of, you know, resorting to your own discovery, research, knowledge, especially if you don't have any good, school counselors to help
Right.
you with even the process of what do you do to even get into college? You know what I
Right.
mean? And
Hmm.
then, especially for certain professions, like being a lawyer, like being something like that in finance or something else, these other families, these other students that are, legacy to get into
Yeah.
places, and it's like they're just kind of going through the motions. It's already set
Yep.
up, da 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 da. They don't even have to think about it. It's been told. They've been told that this is the way, this is the process. But
Right.
for immigrant children, we don't know that, right? And,
Oh, that was a rude awakening. Like as soon as I started. So basically, they split you incoming law students. You're kind of split up into like a first year class that about 90 students. And then, you're with the same classes with the first year throughout the first year. And then you kind of venture out of your first year group in the second and third year. I didn't realize how many of them were related to attorneys. I worked with I went to school with one dude, and I forget what state it was, but he was worried about, post grad job offers. And then in the conversation, he dropped that his dad was like a governor somewhere. I'm like, what the
oh
hell you
man,
worry about?
no worries there. No
Yeah.
worries there. Yeah, that's crazy. And what's also crazy and why I love doing what this podcast, how it's different from my other two is that you know, we've known each other a long time. I just always worked, since 2006 before I got into the scene, I worked for myself. So
Mhm.
we never had conversations with people in the scene like necessarily like what do you do besides what we see you do here?
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I just was like curator, curator, you
Yeah.
had your own
Sure.
super cute, like
Right.
that's all I thought of. So it's fascinating to hear, because I know now because, we follow each other and,
Yeah.
how you are on, social media, which I was going to ask you about as well, is, I was like, oh, she's in the corporate world.
Right.
She manages people. She works with
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but other than that, I was just, oh, and then because I know you and I've seen the evolution of, you
Sure.
going to curate and then you moving on, for a little bit the one blog, the last blog,
Yeah.
and then, you're where you're doing now. But I wanted to have you on because you are a very important part of my journey, um,
Oh, well, thank you.
within the scene because my struggle had always been my art was kind of always dark, and I think that's why a lot of people
Hmm.
assumed that I was a dude. And
Mm.
I don't have like a cuteness. I love it,
Sure.
but I don't come out and I can't create cute. It's not my thing. But
Sure.
you saw me. You saw me
Yeah.
and you've asked me to, to participate in some shows where I was like, "Oh, I can, she sees that I can be a part of this somehow. I'm not that
Right.
dark. I'm not, and I really appreciate that. And you've also, excuse me, helped me connect to other females, whether they're artists or like Colony had her on
Hmm.
before, just great, good people know good people.
I
And
think so.
I just wanted to, have you on because to appreciate you and give you your roses now and just say that,
Thank you.
it's dope that we've met such a long time ago in a predominantly male, a
Yeah.
dominant scene. Um, and, it's great to see Vanessa, not only surviving, but thriving. And,
She's
she's
crushing it.
she's doing amazing things. And, I think
Hmm.
we all evolved in whatever way we needed to for the way our life is. And yeah, so that's why I was like, I gotta have her on at some point. So thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank
Um,
you.
I wanted to ask you, is Korean Han real?
Oh, yeah, that's real.
And could you
That is
tell the
real.
folks what it is? Because I always tell people the supernatural bear, because he's part Korean, part Mexican, and part
Right.
black. He just with the Korean and Mexican part, he got the Mexican rage and he got Korean Han.
It's this combination of rage, despair,
Mm, mm,
cynical look at the world.
mm.
There's a reason that a lot of Korean cinema is obsessed with revenge.
Yeah,
Because,
vengeance for days.
yeah, if you come at me, I'm going to fuck you up. I'm going to make sure your family's miserable. I'm going to make sure my children hate your children and so forth. It goes down generations.
Love it.
And I don't think people realize that. So my mom's a child of the Korean War.
Mm,
It's not that old, it's not wartime is not that far away.
no.
Same for Vietnamese immigrants who've come here. But she grew up, she was like a baby during the Korean War. I don't know if this is real, but she told me the story where I guess bombs, burst out where she was living in her city. And she had several siblings, and she was just a baby. She was like an infant. And so they had to evacuate. And her dad apparently told her mom to leave her. Like, we can't carry a baby when we're escaping. And she always carried that with her. That's also Han. So I guess, in a way it's now we have a fancy term for it. Generational trauma.
Generational
we all know
trauma.
that, but there's this Korean thing.
But this is like on a molecular level. This is like epigenetics, like before the term even was there, before the studies and the research was there. It's Korean Han is epigenetics. Like,
it is
our country, because this is how I found out about it. The Supernatural was little, and he was a baby. He had all this aggression. I was like, Mexican rage. And Rocco's like, what's that? I go, we go crazy because we've been wronged. We've always been wronged. And then I was like, but there's something else. This is something else. I don't know how. I just looked it up, and then it was Korean Han. I was like, what the? I was like, did you know about Korean? I was like, what's that? And I was like, oh, this is what it is. It's Korean Han. And when I looked it up, it said, just because, exactly, generational trauma, but if you're not knowing, look up the history of what Korea has been through.
Yep. Generations of colonialism, oppression.
Chinese, Japanese, everyone fucked them. The gist of it is everybody fucked them up.
Yep.
Conquered them and fucked them up. And it's been in their epigenetics. It's on a molecular level. And I was just like, okay. And then it's funny because right after that, I think I saw like Dumbfounded or somebody talk about Korean Han, and I was like, yes. I was like, it's so fucking real. And then you mix it with the Mexican rage, it's another level. It's another level over here, So thank you for confirming that Korea.
Oh, it's real. It's definitely real.
Yeah. Crazy. You know what? And I also think, if you think about it, I also think that's why Koreans and Mexicans, when we get down to it, we get along so well.
Oh,
right?
we have a lot of commonalities. Family roots.
Professional drinkers,
partiers, but also
partiers.
Holding really long grudges
for days.
There are people on my list who are on my list, and I don't even remember why. I don't know what the actual starting point was, but I don't care.
But they're there. They're there for a reason.
And they're going to stay there.
The reason, but they're going to stay there. Exactly.
They're going to stay there. It's like, I don't believe in the whole forgive and forget. I'm not going to forget.
Hilarious. Okay, next question. Next topic. I made notes. I was like, I got to ask her about these specific things. How are you able, and I won't give too much away, but how are you able to keep your social medias separate so that people that you work with don't find you out?
Oh, that's funny. So I'm in marketing. I do marketing for an insurance company. I've done marketing for a really long time, and a lot of that is digital marketing. So I've done a lot of social media marketing and things like that. I make it seem like I'm not on social.
I love that.
I preemptively have blocked every coworker that I've ever worked with if they were on social, if they mentioned that they were somewhere on social, because they never know to hide their names. So it's a version, it's very easy to find. And you find one and I find all of them.
Because they're all connected.
I've actually blocked family members of people I work with. If I see you have a cousin like wandering around with like a baby and they're on social, I block them too.
Blocked.
Yeah. So, and then also Twitter is a unique social media platform. People are either down with it or they're not. And I rarely meet people who dabble with Twitter or use it for like news or so. So they're either in it or not. And so I can tell by conversation if I need to search them out and block them. So I don't know if you noticed recently, like within the last day or so, I actually changed my social handles on Instagram and Twitter to match my first name and my married last name. So my
Oh,
married last name is Revilla. And you know, it's like it's my secret name because I haven't changed it legally.
me
So
neither.
so people know me by my government name. So again, no one will ever find me.
Nice, nice,
And if they did, I think I hide enough, or I kind of hide stories enough to not get sued. You know,
nice.
that's where being an attorney is helpful.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not, and no one's ever going to be able to screenshot, what I say and bring it to HR or try to sue me.
I love it because it's been for years. I just see it and I was like, oh, man, she must be real good. She must know. She must have an inside scoop on how she's keeping this separate
Yeah,
because
because I actually saw the other side where people would add coworkers is fine. When you and your manager add each other, I think that's really weird.
yeah, yeah,
And then I just think that's a boundary. And
yeah.
so, I would flat out tell people I work with, oh, I don't do social media. If you see someone who looks like me, it's probably fake. So so stay away from it. You might get hacked. You might get your shit hacked on Facebook.
Nice. Give them the warnings. Let them know not to fuck around and find out.
That's right.
Amazing. Hilarious. Now the next thing is very near and dear to me. Do you want to support original content that supports diverse voices? Why not support Word to Your Mama? You're listening to it right now. Become a patron. Head over to patreon.com/WTYM. There are 4 patron levels to choose from, including Good Looking Out, I'm Down, Hell Yeah, and Please Believe It. Benefits include patron shoutouts, exclusive patron-only content, and so much more. Head on over to patreon.com/WTYM to take your support to the next level. Gracias. And I feel that you understand my pain. Now let's
Okay.
talk about the war of the sexes when it comes to dishwasher loading.
So I believe you're referring to something I posted on social. So the other day I opened where we keep our dishes, and so it drives me crazy when like the dish shapes are not stacked correctly. So I
Mm-mm-mm.
need the square Tupperwares to be stacked with the squares to
Of
save
course.
space, the circles with the circles. And I opened it up and I told Roger, my husband, I said, oh, I hate the way you put away dishes. And he turned back right away and he was like, well, it's not as chaotic as how you load the dishwasher. And then I was like, well, what's wrong with it? So we had like a 10-minute argument about who has a superior dish loading system, where he was like, well, I load it so that it's easiest to take out. You just kind of just jam everything together. And I said, I load it for maximum cleanage. Okay. I need all the areas to get clean. So I don't like it stacked like horizontally. I need it to be a little lean so that it gets the maximum of the hot spray. And I think our conversation probably deteriorated to one of us calling the other crazy, or maybe both.
And then both just walking away.
Yeah, but my post really resonated because a bunch of people reply was like, "Oh, I hate that."
Everybody, the way, and it's the way you put dishes away, but especially the dishwasher. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's been years now, and I've never met a couple that agree that they both do a decent job putting in the dishwasher. And also, this is how I know that Rocky doesn't like the way I put the dishes in the dishwasher, because I'll do the lunch, he'll do dinner.
Oh,
I'll
that's cool.
hear him. I can I can hear him opening up the dishwasher rack and going, "Ugh, ah." And I go, what? And what? Like,
Yeah,
what is the
yeah.
problem? And so before this conversation, I was telling him about your post, and I was like, but what? Like, he was doing it at the time, and I was like, so
Right.
what is the situation? Because where you put the cups is where I put the cups. And da-da-da-da-da, and da-da-da-da-da. And he was
Uh-huh.
like, well, see this? He's like, it should be this way. Like minute, like minuscule little things.
Oh, we can't agree on which way to tilt the bowls.
Exactly.
And that's what we were. I was like, the things are slanted this way, so you need to put it with the slant.
With the slant.
And he was like, no, it's against the slant. And like, but you're right, because fundamentally we put like plates at the bottom, cups on top. Like the fundamentals we agree on. It's the little things where when you start to pile on things or whatever.
Yes. The fundamental, and I tell him, I was like, it's not like we would go to such and such house. I go, it's just random chaos, especially when it comes to the utensils. I was like, because he's like, I'm organized, but he's like, I always say, what was that? Remember that one J-Lo movie? And her husband was abusive.
Oh yeah, I know what you're, but I don't
something
remember the
of
name
a stranger, living with a stranger, or something like that.
Okay.
And he was like super, super anal, and all the cans had to be facing, and all the towels. He's that level. Like, I'm pretty anal. He's like psychotic level. So I was like, but I don't put like I don't put random utensils in random containers. I go, I put the spoons with the spoons and the forks with the forks. And he's like, oh, well, there's different types of knives, and I put those together. Oh, and I was like, forget. I walked away. I was like, forget it.
No, mine is about like the maximum disinfecting potential, because we're both like really anal about dishes as well. So we actually wash them pretty well before we put them in the dishwasher.
So do we. Everyone hates us. Everyone hates us.
We wash them. Well, I remember going to one of his friends' houses, and I think they did it the other way, because I opened the dishwasher and put something away, and I almost like threw up because it stank. And they were like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Oh, we scrub our dishes pretty well, and kind of use the dishwasher for like a disinfectant because it's so hot."
Same.
But it's like, I still wanted to get the maximum area covered.
Oh, hilarious. Couple life.
Yes.
Cohabitation, married life. Amazing.
Absolutely.
Okay, Hana, let's get into questions and comments from the audience. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay. Do you give people a second chance at a first impression?
Yes, I have. Not often, but someone tweeted this earlier about like, what's the weirdest experience or most awkward experience you had at a comic convention? And I messaged Vanessa and I said, hey, it was that time I met you in Decon and you were really fucking weird. And I almost wrote you off. I think she may have mentioned this story on her episode, but yeah, like, we like got along really well on Twitter, and she had like this, vivacious, but sarcastic personality. So I walked up like, hey, I was all excited, and she kind of just gave me the stone faced look. And I didn't read it as being awkward. I thought she was being kind of a bitch.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's weird. And so I walked away, and I found Roger, and I said, hey, Vanessa, the girl that I'm always talking to, is over there, but she's kind of being really cold to me. I was like, you want to go say hi? And he was like, no, fuck her. And we walked away. And we did the standard, like, hey, we'll come back to your booth, not, knowing that we're not going to come back. And so, but, I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? Maybe she had an off day, or maybe she was shy, or whatever. And so I reached out to her and I think I invited her to a show or something. And, I realized like, oh, wait a minute. Okay. She's just kind of really introverted, which I'm introverted too, but I'm just not really fucking awkward. I can manage, but, so we were laughing about it today because, it made me think about it.
Hilarious. And it's funny because that question is from her. She also she said, if you want to hear her laugh, ask her if she believes in karma.
Oh my God. So we have a running, karma is real. So whatever energy you put out, it's going to come back to you.
Mhm.
And Vanessa has experienced ditch karma.
What do you mean by ditch karma?
We were walking one day, and I think we had lunch with her and her sister, and we were kind of walking back to the car, and she was talking shit as usual. And I was walking, and I looked down, and I was like, "Hey, watch out for that ditch." And she didn't hear me, or she ignored me, so she kind of like fell into this hole into the ground, and like she didn't like roll her ankle or anything, but she was like, "Oh shit!" And I was like, "I warned you, A, B. That's what you get for talking shit." And I was like, "Karma's real."
Ditch karma, a
So
specific type of karma.
it's a specific type of karma, and Roger and I, we get each other all the time because we're always talking shit, and so I told him the other day, I pierced my hand like opening up this most stupidest package of nuts. Like I didn't realize the foil was that sharp, and I actually got a cut. And he goes, that's karma for whatever shit you were talking the other day. I was like, what shit? And he was like, you were talking some shit. I don't remember, but but yes, karma is definitely real.
Yes, that is correct. Karma is real. Okay, the next one. What hood ass / poverty food or snack from your childhood do you still eat today?
Oh, what don't I eat from my childhood? There's a couple things. Sapporo Ichiban ramen.
Oh yeah.
That's
Oh.
like I think I have like a couple packs in the cupboard right now. Spam, I'll still fuck with spam and rice. Once in a while, I'll cave and I'll get like I like really good mac and cheese, like especially like homemade. But I'll get that Kraft box stuff.
If I wasn't lactose, all of a sudden, I would eat that. That was my favorite shit.
Yeah,
Kraft.
for sure.
Like it
Kraft.
makes you feel like, safe.
Yeah, I'll eat the whole box by myself.
By myself.
Yeah.
Back in the days, I would eat it with, if there wasn't any fresh salsa that my mom made, fresh chile, I'd eat it with paste picante sauce.
Oh, I used to, you know what? I ate paste for a really long time until I met actual Mexicans. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, easy from the jar. Okay, that question was from your significant other, the guy who complains about your dishwasher situation. And then also one last one. What does your playlist look like for a long car ride?
For a long time, I had the Encanto soundtrack playing, but I realized a lot of songs just made me sad. And so I was on the freeway once and I was just full on weeping while driving. And I'm looking, my glasses are getting foggy and I'm looking for tissue, but my default for the longest time has been the Hamilton Broadway soundtrack.
Oh, nice.
I love
no skips.
No skips. I like to
Wow.
listen to it in progression. And that's still like my default when I don't know what to listen to.
Okay. So let me ask you this, and it might come up if you listen to this episode when it comes out. What is your favorite Hamilton song?
I do like all of them, but I think I like Alexander Hamilton most of all, the first track.
And then what's your favorite Encanto song? Encanto song.
I have, of course, we don't talk about Bruno in my head, but I really like Surface Pressure with Luisa.
Okay. All right.
That's one and it's really cute because so we have twin nieces. They're 4 right now, and then they have a little brother who are 2, and that's all they listen to in Encanto. So like all day, every day, 7 a.m, after dinner. And it's really cute because it's really stuck with them. And a movie soundtrack's good when little kids start trying to sing to it.
Yeah. Yeah. And when adults are singing it and it's like in your head and stuff like that. Okay, that question was also from your significant other that has an issue with the dishes. So now let's get into the not so rapid fire questions, the AKA slow as hell question.
All
First
right.
one, questions. First one, 3 words to describe yourself.
Direct,
Mm,
fearless,
mm-hmm.
honest.
CCC, I concur. Okay, what's the best piece of advice you've received?
The best piece of advice I've actually, you know what? Maybe it's not received directly, but I was talking to a colleague and she really likes Brene Brown too.
Mm,
And we were talking about how important clear as kind is.
yeah.
And I think about that a lot because I do manage staff. And I think the hardest part of a corporate job is not the nuts and bolts of it. It's managing people and
Mm,
relationships. And I think that soft skills are really underrated. And I
mm-hmm.
always try to make sure that I'm very clear about what my expectations are. I always tell my staff, like, you don't have to guess with me. I'm going to tell you what I don't like. I'm going to tell you what you did wrong, but I'm also going to help you. So clear is kind, that sticks out to me
Love
on
that.
a daily.
Yeah, love that. So the gist here as well is just like when I talked to Vanessa, you also are of the we fucks with Brené Brown heavy.
I didn't realize that you both did until the podcast episode. And I texted her right away. I was like, "Oh, you like Brene Brown too?" Because she really, Dare to Lead really opened a lot of, it opened a lot of opportunities for me because I was thinking like, "Oh, okay, I could actually apply this
Mm,
to my career." Because I was kind of wavering with my career for a little bit. I didn't know if I wanted to do something else. I didn't know. There are periods of time where it's like I don't know how I want to advance further. What I want to do. But I really that really resonated with me. That book in particular, and I do listen to some of her podcast. There's a 2-part her Dare to Lead podcast episodes with the gentleman who did Atomic Habits. And those 2 episodes are really good because they were talking about how habits, you can build upon them. And I actually got his book as a result of the podcast. But yeah, I really like
I'll check that
her
one out.
style. I like what she has to say. And I just feel like she comes across as genuine.
Yeah, genuine. And like we mentioned before, she's for me the right mix of a little bit of woo woo, a lot
Yeah.
of research, and a lot of just fucking honesty,
Mhm.
authenticity. And I
Yeah.
think it's because she's from Texas and
Yeah.
she cusses like a sailor, and like me. Like, do you know what I mean? Have you started her new one, Atlas of the Heart, yet?
No, I haven't gotten that one yet. And I also have on my Kindle a couple of the ones that Vanessa and you talked about.
No
So
CCC.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
let
I
me
have
know
those
about
ones. Yeah.
that. I just started Atlas of the Heart. And with her, because she reads her own stuff,
Mhm.
I love it because then it's not reading. I feel like she's just talking to me, like, like her
Right.
podcast. And
Mhm.
what's great for those who are interested, I listened to a little bit of her talk to her sisters about this, and I had to stop it because it was like spoilers.
Mhm.
But this is a different book because there's a lot of visuals and worksheets and stuff
Okay.
inside of it. But if
Mhm.
you get the audio, she's dope enough to also include a PDF of the entire book.
Oh, cool.
So it has the worksheets, it has the visuals, all the things that they worked really, really hard on. So that's just a little FYI. Okay, next one. What is the song your go-to song to get you hyped when you need it?
Um, what kind of hype? Like, am I trying to fight someone or again that
Any
Korean
hype?
Korean
The
Han?
Korean Han, sure. Or it could be like, oh, you got a presentation, or you're not motivated to get started on a project. There's different ones. I know everyone has different, possibly different songs for different occasions. But like maybe your most recent time, you're like, oh, I need this. I'm gonna put this on.
This is gonna sound corny, but or maybe not the the most interesting hype song, but I I love Radiohead's Everything in Its Right Place.
Mm-mm-mm.
When I hear the first chord, dun, 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 and then it's like, I'm like, oh yeah, everything is in its right place. So that would be my hype song.
Love it. That goes with the dishes situation, I think, too. Um, that would be a great addition to, I'll have a link as always, the Word to Your Mama guest hype song playlist. So every hype song anyone's ever mentioned on this show is in one place. And
All right.
we run the gamut. So final question, Hana. What will be your legacy?
Well, I hope that I think I'm still forging that.
Mm.
I'm at that stage of I always joke with my friends, I have a midlife crisis every couple years. um, I would like my legacy to be that I helped open doors for people,
Oh, please
that I
believe it.
helped give them opportunities. I don't think there's a lot of us out there, women of color forging their own path, or playing within a man's field.
Yep.
In my industry, I'm one of the few women. I'm definitely one of the few women of color, and I'm never a shrinking violet. So I want them to remember, like, oh, okay, the Asian American female is not like, very quiet. Oh, it's like, oh, I can't mess with her.
Breaking down the stereotypes.
Right. And I hope that is part of my legacy, because I don't want to just do it for me. I do think it's important for, like you said, bring up the future generations who may not have those family connections. Because to me, all of us, children of immigrants, like we're all the connection.
Yeah.
And I like to see us do that, bring us each other up, other than, because I see people do it anyway.
Yeah.
Using the family connections, using the inroads. And, I want us to do that too.
Exactly. And, just if when we think about people of color and just the fucking amount of time and energy that has been spent to try to keep us separated, to try to keep us down, to try to keep us ill-informed. I just try to remind people, to try to remind myself and try to remind others, if another group within the people of color wins, it's a win for us.
Right.
And vice versa. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, the Koreans are winning, especially like, what was it, last year, 2 years ago, like just killing it in the film scene, it's like, that's a win for them. It's a win for us. I'm not a hater. That's a win. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like, when Shang-Chi getting all that success, like, obviously I'm not Chinese, but it's like, yeah, I'm happy for everyone in that movie except Aquafina, because fuck her. But but I'm happy everyone else is getting that Marvel money.
Exactly.
I totally see that.
It's a win. It's a opening of a door. And like, especially, I just said, I think recently, the African American community, the Black community, has been opening so many doors for everybody else that we don't recognize it as much. And so when I see them winning, it's like, that's a fucking huge win for them, but a win for us as well. But I want them to continue winning. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
and
yeah,
I feel
absolutely.
like, just all around, like, let's fucking unite and scare these motherfuckers.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think you're absolutely right. I live in Arizona now, and it's the first time I've ever worked anywhere where they actually don't take Martin Luther King Jr. Day off. And I was looking at the holiday calendar, and I was like, hey, is this a mistake? And they're like, oh no, we don't do that. We only do that out here. And I was like, F that, I'm going to take it off. So I did take it off, and I explained to my staff why I'm taking it off.
That's good. See?
Because it was just really, it's a very bizarre cultural shift here. I'll say that.
How long has it
Arizonans
been now? A year?
I've been here since June. So we moved here last June. So
So
not even a year. Not even a year.
wow, that's crazy. Well, Hana, thank you so much for being on another one of my podcasts. I appreciate it. But I feel like this time we got to talk on a slightly different, topics. And, I appreciate what you're doing. Your legacy has already begun. You've touched people. That's one of the reasons why, I am still, friends with you, but also the reason why I wanted you on here. So I have no doubt that you have impacted many people's lives, whether you know it or not. And I am glad that you are here.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity, and it's always great to catch up with you.
Thank you. And now introducing
the Supernatural Bear Corner. Supernatural Bear.
Hello everyone, I am the SNB, and today for the SNB Corner, we have a special thing that I made, and for this episode, for Miss Hana, I made a little thing from Encanto. Now, I think Encanto is one of the best Disney Pixar movies, or Disney movies, that has ever Disneyed in the history of Disney. which is over 50 years, let me remind you. Been doing it since the 30s. So by 2030, it would be 100 years of Disney. That's a lot of years of Disney. But anyway, getting back to the point, Miss Hana is a very big Encanto fan. So I thought it would be cool if I just did this, and as soon as I finished watching the movie, I was like, I want to get some of that. We don't talk about Bruno, no. Something like that. So, after a couple of days, I finally finished it. So, here it is. Peace!
7 foolish frame rats along his back. When he calls your name, it all fades to black. Yeah, he sees your dreams and feasts on your screams. We don't talk about Bruno, no. We don't talk about Bruno. He told me my fish will die the next day, dead. No. He told me my girl would guts, and just like he said, he said that all my hair would disappear. Now look at my head. No. Your fate is sealed when your prophecy is read. Bruno. So about that Bruno, I really need to know about Bruno. Give me the truth and the whole truth, Bruno. Isabella, your boyfriend's here. Time for dinner. 7 It was my wedding. It was my wedding. Just getting ready, and there wasn't a cloud in the sky. Clouds allowed in the sky. Walks in with a mist of his grin. Thunder. Are you doing this story or am I? Oh yeah, mighty, I know son is way. Says it looks like rain. So long as bad when he's doing so, it floods my it all fades to black. Yeah, he's married in a hurricane. On your screams, he's here. Don't talk about Bruno. Why did I talk about Bruno? Not a word about Bruno. I never should have brought up Bruno. Yeah.
There it is, folks. Episode 71 of Word to Your Mama. How crazy is that multi-level track that the Supernatural Bear, who's 9, by the way, let me remind you, he is 9. He asked me to show him once 1 or 2 things, what to do on GarageBand, and I just showed him. It was like simple things, like how to open a new track or something like that. Nothing like this. So one day, he just comes and he's like, "Oh, I recorded a song. Do you want to hear it?" And I was like, "Sure, of course," right? He always does like little memos or da-da-da. But then he brings this and he's like doing the background vocals and the ad-libs and stuff. Like, what? These kids these days, man. The Supernatural Bear. I love him. He's crazy. And he's mine. He's mine. But yeah, Hana Kim. See? Almost messed up. Hana Kim. We are what we call Rage Sisters, right? Mexican Rage, Korean Han. The Supernatural Bear has both. Yeah. It was a great episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, if you want to email, go ahead and do so at hola@wordtoyourmama.com. Mama, M-A-M-A. And, you got your Patreon, you got your donate directly, you got your buy us a whiskey, you got your buy something from the store. People are starting to go out a little bit. Some are going crazy, but maybe you need, a cool enamel pin for your jacket, for your tote. You know what I'm saying? It looks great on the pocket of your jean jacket. That's how I rock them. So yeah, peruse that. Also, a free way to support is tell your folks, tell your peeps, and tell your friends. And as always, we reap. Word to Your Mama is owned and produced by Ritzy P. Intro beat produced by Nico Beats. If you want to know anything about Word to Your Mama, including Media Kit, go to wordtoyourmama.com. And as always, Word to Your Mama is brought to you by ritzyperiwinkle.com.